Okay, everybody, welcome back. So just the last 20 minutes or so, I'm going to go through some further examples of activities you could use with your students to help improve their writing skills and their understanding of writing. Anybody played persuasive techniques bingo by any chance from Tweak It? Anybody, yes or no? Okay, fantastic. Okay, no worries. Okay, so it comes from from Key Stage 3 work, but really helpful, um, really for functional skills as well as for GCSE English. And essentially, what you could do is, first of all, you got all these words here under dramatic or emotional impact, informal and personal, logic and stylistic tricks. So you could just give them all the words and just get them to categorize them into these different areas. And then once they've got an idea that these words are around logic, these words are around style, etc., then you could then give everybody a persuasive techniques bingo card like this, okay? So you've got a whole range of them: humor, contrast, imagery, shock tactics, anecdotes, exaggeration, hyperbole, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Now, some of them may not be. You may think some of them are not really functional skills, like I don't know, forceful phrases, maybe, I don't know, or clusters of 3, but it may well be. Okay, but you have to decide which ones you think will work and which ones won't, because you can adapt this as well. All right. And then what you do then is you could do it in 2 ways. For example, you get the learner to then, maybe one learner could then read out, okay, this one is about speaking to the reader in a friendly way. They have to then go back to this, and then they then have to then be able to name what it is there, okay, and cross it off. Questions that don't require an answer, rhetorical questions, and they have to find that there as well, okay? Demonstrating differences in viewpoint, contrast, okay? So that would be one way to do it, okay? The other thing that you could also get them to do as well is you could just get them to maybe, you could actually put the explanations actually in the boxes, and then the little, the actual titles like contrast, rhetorical questions, they could be put on separate cards, and learners then have to then attach them to the relevant explanations, and they could do it like that. So whichever way you want to do it, I mean, you can use it in a bingo format or a matching activity. So that would be, that is a really good one. Anybody would maybe think about doing something like this with their students? Do you think it might work? Do you think it might introduce them to more language features in a maybe friendly way, informal way? Any thoughts, anybody? Yeah, definitely. Well done. Fantastic. So I've done bingo active before and they love them. Yeah, the whole bingo thing is really good because they have to really think and they have to then decide on the best option for them. So there's also a document here. I mean, it's written by a GCSE English expert, Peter Thomas, 12 ways to develop sentence structure and sequence. So all I'm saying here, guys, I would encourage you to read this article. It's pretty in depth, as you can see, but it goes through some very, very specific examples of how you can actually encourage your learners to start crafting language in more effective ways. So it is quite a document, but you know, you might need to give yourself time to go through it. But there are some real gems in here. There's some real gems in here that you'll find very, very helpful. But it does go into some detail. Lots of examples here on how you can use sentence, to get students to develop sentence structure and sequence. And then you could then try to contextualize it for functional skills, okay? Another one which I probably have alluded to already in the webinar is I always like to get my students, that particularly when they are learning new concepts and terminology, I just want them to just understand the meaning and find examples. So something like this, whereby you've got the technique, rhetorical question, triple, or rule of 3, opinions and facts, superlative, emotive language, pronouns, and flattery. And then you've got a description and then the example. And you can have them as different colored cards, get them to match them up and all together. The exercise that I showed you just before we started this session was based on a functional skills level 1 question. And so you may want to contextualize the examples to the question in hand, to the functional skills question in hand, rather than just general examples, okay? So you may want to make it quite specific to the functional skills tasks that the learners are gonna do as part of their course program, their training. Right, any other comments from anybody? I made a similar idea, but each guy had a definition. They had to work out the technique and explain to their partner. Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Shirley. That's amazing. Brilliant, brilliant, fantastic. So let me now just go back, guys, to my slides. Just need to go back. I think I've covered, just want to make sure I've got all that. Yeah, I think I've covered most of the things now. Ah, yes, signpost words. Yeah, got it. Right. Okay, right, guys. So we've also put together a list of these signpost words, these discourse markers, cohesive devices. And so basically those which show announcing an opinion, it would seem, one might consider, one might deduce, one might infer. Again, probably our learners might not be using this in their spoken English, but again, we can give them choices and they can choose, and they may want to choose it to show illustration, persuasion, comparison, equally, similarly, and equivalent, as with, likewise, to show summary. Okay, that is quite a skill, to be able to summarize things. To show restriction, except for, unless. Addition, like furthermore, in addition. What is more? Moreover, one of my favorite words, moreover. I love using that. I love teaching it to learners thinking, what am I talking about? But again, it's about getting that growth mind extended. Emphasis, contrast and balance, sequence, cause and effect, quotations. I mean, what you could do is you could group all these words together and then put the title separate and get the learners to match. And you could even make it more challenging by maybe splitting off some of the words. And so they have to then, deal with more words rather than groups of words. Okay. So, so tell me, guys, with your students, your level 1, level 2 students, how are they with showing that they can persuade or compare or summarize using this kind of language? Where are they on a scale of 0 to 10? 0, no understanding and no application. 10, all the time. Can you give a number, please, for your students for level 1, level 2? Because level 1, level 2 is expecting students to be able to now use more sophisticated language. So can you give yourself a score, 0 to 10, please? Okay, I've got some numbers here. Let's have a look. So we've got, we've got 2, fantastic, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2. Okay, fantastic. So would you say, guys, I mean, thank you for those scores. Do you think there are opportunities now for trying to get some of this language across to your students? What do you think? Yes or no? Do you feel there's opportunities now for you to explore this further, to try to help and support your students? And what we're saying as well, guys, is, yeah, brilliant. Thank you, everybody. That's the best positive. Thank you, Zabia. Joe, Dorette, amazing. Thanks, Tariq. Yeah, okay, with basics like, but I think, but very, yeah, okay, that's a fair point. Thank you so much indeed. Brilliant, okay. Is this resource on the Padlet? Yes, it will be. What you'll find, guys, there should be zipped folders. I don't know whether you had a chance to have a look yet, but I've put zipped folders in each of the days. So you have one for session 7, one for session 8. We're doing session 8 at the moment. And you'll find a lot of the handouts and resources are in there. So all the ones that I've been showing you today, they should be in zip folders. But you'll just need to download them onto your hard drive, and then you should then be able to extract all the files from there. Okay, but this is really, you know, when I think back on my Delta days 21 years ago, this is what helped me to kind of go into a different territory of English language teaching, because I knew that I couldn't get away from teaching the language, the actual language components, and know a little bit about how language is categorized, how it's sequenced, how it's labeled. So I had more knowledge, more language knowledge for me to then transfer to my students in an appropriate way that is beneficial for learning. Now, obviously, with international students, with ESOL students, they may well, depending on how they were taught English, because I know many countries, particularly in Asian countries, they use a very strict grammar translation approach, lesson 1 verbs, lesson 2 nouns. Well, it may not be as crude as that, but you know, they've got a lot of good grounding in grammar. But then again, really, you know, it's a case of, well, that's really good, but then again, we need to also make sure they also learn about fluency as well and natural styles of writing. Could you just send a Word document format for me, please? Yes, Paula, that's not going to be a problem. We can do a conversion from PDF to Word. That's not, I mean, there's also free software available as well. But yeah, we can, so Paula, have a chat with me at the end, and then we can and then I'll know which one to do. All right, no problem. Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'm glad you're liking the resources. Any particular ones so far that you might be thinking of using? Anyone want to think about using the underground one? Or the language features matching? Or the persuasive bingo techniques? How about the kinesthetic pyramids? How about the SPAG activities I showed you? All of them, Dorette. Brilliant, fantastic. Oh, great, Shirley. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I'm kind of, Shirley, not trying to wear my GCSE hat in a functional skills setting. But it's all, but you know, sometimes you do get things transcending into each other. But and this is what I find about teaching English, and having had the experience of teaching English in different sectors, in different groupings, different clientele, that you just learn so much about it. But then it's not always that what's tried and tested in one sector will always work, particularly when things change, like functional skills curriculum is changing. There's a lot more things now about language. Yes, Shirley, it's speaking and communicating, leading the students towards GCSE. Can't wait to get back in the classroom. Oh, brilliant. Fantastic, Dorette. And thanks, Zabia. Thanks for all that positive encouragement and feedback. Well done. Because it's all about, and we're not saying, I mean, I'm not saying here, and I'm sure my other consultant colleagues would agree, who run courses like this, and we're not saying that you completely overhaul what you currently do. It's really about adding to your toolbox, adding to your itinerary, that you can now look, or maybe look at something totally differently. That's absolutely fine. So you go with your flow, but then the courses like this are here just to give you that extra awareness, different strategies, maybe just to validate what you're doing is absolutely fantastic anyway. So it's things of that nature that can really, really help. And remember, guys, you know, even if you give them like signpost words like this, you can even do phonics works on top. Okay? Any thoughts on any phonics works that you can do with this kind of a handout? Any thoughts come to mind? So you wanted to get 2 in there, phonics and signpost words for their writing, because remember, phonics is just as powerful for reading, for decode, as well as encoding, can help students to spell. So any thoughts on using phonics in the sheet? Do you see any common sounds? I can see S, SS, SI, CE, SE. So what you could do, you could present the sheet, but miss out everything that has a S sound. And then you can give learners little examples. Like, is it a C? Is it a CE? Is it a CI? Is it an S, double S? Or is it SE? And yeah, that's great, Shirley. You can build up a family of words, showing them root of some of the words. Definitely, absolutely, brilliant stuff, Cert.Ed. Yeah, it is all about enhancement, and thank you, Vicky. That's amazing. And also remember this as well, is that any of these English language teaching techniques, they are also extremely helpful for, say, vocational tutors who may be struggling to try and get some improvements in the students' writing skills, particularly writing, where they have to produce the end product. They have to write the observation report in the salon, or they have to write an incident report, or they have to write instructions, you know, on something to do with carpentry. So where writing skills, or where students have to engage in writing tasks, some of these strategies may also work within a contextualized way, and it will help those vocational students be able to use literacy skills very powerfully and accurately, and even more so you don't get wastage, you don't get mistakes being made, safeguarding health and safety. And also, you know, if ever anybody was going to write a business plan or something about a project, or write a quote, then they've really got to be able to express themselves in an appropriate way, and all these words can be extremely helpful. Okay, I'm just going to stop the share, and I'm going to go into my slides, and I want to show you a few more things. Right, do you remember I explained to you the Lotus Blossom technique for reading? Yes? Well, you can also use it as a planning tool for writing. Okay? Now, particularly if some of you are working in big groups, you know, particularly when you can do it in breakout groups on Zoom. You can do them on breakout groups on Zoom, but works really effectively in big groups, large groups, and you're trying to develop students' writing skills. Now, if you can focus on the middle Lotus Blossom, just imagine that first grid of how many ideas? 8 ideas, and then the title one in the middle, on the middle bit of the lotus. Just imagine that is either on a flip chart or an A4 or an A3 piece of paper. Essentially, you would give the students a task, and then the ideas are for the students to generate, and they can be ideas that will eventually form the sequence. So, for example, with that Clinton support park, it would be around trying to write the introduction. How would we introduce it? What are the main problems? And maybe one square per problem, and maybe there's 2 solutions using complex sentences. Then maybe that could be idea 6 and 7. Okay, if you know that your students are going to struggle with free writing from their memory, writing from what they've got already in their mind, then as an English teacher, for me, I always predict this, and I always pipeline in some words and some phrases. If necessary, if I'm wanting them to focus on writing complex sentences, I will give them an example, and I'll stick it in each idea box to prompt them, to give them something to start off with, okay? Because the last thing I want to do is, if I give my students a task, I've made no predictions, and I get blank faces, and then they start fidgeting around, and they start throwing things around, and whatever these students do. And I don't have any of that in any of my sessions. I just make sure that I'm on point with my predictions and my planning and up my sleeveness, and then I make sure that they're on task, and then they get supported all the way through. Now, what you could do if you've got a big class, like, because you've got a massive class, okay, what you could do is, if they've put an idea down in each box, then take the idea, say, like, for example, idea 1, go upwards, give one group of 4 idea 1 to flesh out, and here the idea is then basically broken down into sentences and words. So, for example, the first box, the first square, is the first sentence. Then the next one is the second one. Then the third, then the fourth. So they have time to then write the sentence down and see how it looks. rather than writing it continuously, they spread it out, 1 sentence per box. Okay. And then underneath that, you know, maybe they might want, and then you can come in and if you think that they could make it more complex, then just throw in the word although, throw in the word if, and whatever it might be, okay? Or whereas, okay? Just drop it in to make them think that what they've written is okay, but my teacher wants us to go from okay to impressive. This is where you get language development happening in front of your eyes. And that's what you want, okay? And you want that development to then to transfer itself in the written write-ups of their functional skills questions, okay? And what will happen is if you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different groups, they're working on one idea each, then collectively you're going to get lots of ideas, marvelous ideas, and then eventually what will happen is students will then be able to then, you know, they'll be able to see the writing and development. And if all of this was displayed on the wall, students can then come up with their clipboards, and they can then start to extract and write down the sentences that are going to help them when they do the writing task. Okay, so that would be a really good fact-finding mission for them. You can, if you wanted to, you can also use Padlet, because if you're doing it electronically, you can use Padlet because you can use a template for posts, and you can have 1 post for each idea, and then they can within each post they can then add different boards, okay? And the different boards can be different ideas. So the Padlet can be used for this purpose. So it can be done electronically, and if they're brilliant students, you could encourage them to be able to then write group. I want you to have a think about it, overnight, in between your Facebook and your Instagram and your this, that, and the other, and then try and write some ideas. And I'll put out 8 posts, and I want this group to look at this and that. And then when you come back in the class next day, hopefully you'll have all these posts populated with typed information, which could be copied and pasted into a document and sent to students for them to do further work with. Okay? Right, guys, it's 2 o'clock. That really comes to the end of the writing. Are there any questions or comments or queries? You could also use Jamboard on Google Meets. That's great. Brilliant. That's brilliant stuff. Okay, great. Okay. Right, guys. Thank you very much indeed. So it is 2 o'clock. So it's the end. Where's the time gone, eh? Thank you very much indeed for your participation. Hope you found those sessions useful. It's given you more ideas and, for your presentation on Thursday, and also for your teaching in general, all right? And I will be sending out the running order of the presentations in my follow-up email, as well as a Zoom link for the 5th session, okay? I'll also be resending the actual Zoom video. If some of you, if you've not had a chance to have a look at that, I'll resend it anyway. Everything's on the Padlet. The Padlet is fully up to date. If there's something not there, you can't find it, can you please email me directly, and I'll try and find it and then put it on the Padlet and let everyone know. Is that okay? Thank you very much indeed. Yes, Paula, don't worry. We'll have a chat. Okay, so don't worry about that. That's fine. That's fine, Kathleen. Thank you so much, everybody. So please take care of yourselves. I'll see you on Thursday. Get in touch if you've got any questions or queries about the presentations. I'll send you my follow-up email. Again, anything missing in the Padlet, just let me know. And thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Shirley. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Josh. Okay, everyone. So if anyone wants to just hang on a bit, if they've got any questions they want to ask me, please do. Please unmute yourselves, and please,
Okay, Sunil.
Hello, Paula.
Hi. I know you know I'm a bit of a dinosaur with technology, so I just wondered if you could possibly.
We're all learning.
If you could possibly send me, because I've tried to download stuff before and it tries to charge me for PDF. I don't mean off your thing, but I mean off other stuff.
Yeah.
So if you could just send me, in a Word document, the sort of the connectives mind map that you did, you know, the underground thing.
Yeah, okay.
And also the last but one that you sent me, not the Bloom thing, the one before that you had with the 8 box, you know, the alternative words they could use to describe, to say things. Do you know what I mean? How the sort of connectives or connection, or the words that make it more complex. Do you know the one I mean?
You mean the signpost words?
Think so. It was like a thing of 8 boxes with all the words in that they.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. As a Word document.
Yes, please, so that I can then print them off.
Okay.
And because I give them the basics of connections and connective words. I give them out, but it would be nice to have those so I could challenge some of the more able learners.
Okay, and you're saying that your current IT system doesn't allow you to access them as PDFs. Is that right?
I'm obviously just a dinosaur when it comes to technology.
I think, can I just interrupt a little minute?
Yes, Catherine.
When you try to convert them, it charges you on our system.
Yeah, so I don't
know how to. I have the same problem as well.
Okay, well, let me look at that. I'll try and send it in a few different ways, and hopefully you'll be able to do that. So that's the signpost words, and then the underground one. If I resend that, and
yes, please.
Is that for yourself as well, Kathleen? Is that for both of you?
Oh, sorry, I was just going.
Don't go, Kathy, because I just want to remind Sunil that we've got to do our presentation Thursday morning.
Yes.
Because I can't do Thursday afternoon, if that's okay with you, Sunil.
Absolutely fine. Can I just show the present? Can I just oh, where's my present? Can I just show the presentation on the screen, the one that you done?
The one I sent to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly, give me a moment. Let me just try and get
it up. Because Kathy and I discussed it, and we discussed the way we're doing it. So
yes.
Yeah. Paula's got hers done. I haven't got mine done yet. I've just got notes.
Okay.
I've been too busy with family.
No problem. Actually, let me just